wait. And baby, I'm TFC till I die.
Hello and welcome back to Toronto Till I Die, the Toronto FC fan show. I'm Mike Newell, and hey, a cup's a cup, a tournament's a tournament, even if it's Mickey Mouse, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it makes any sense. But here we are, Leagues Cup. Toronto FC is through the group stage, winning its group and on its way to the round of 32. We'll talk this week a little bit about, obviously, Toronto FC's Leagues Cup run. We'll talk a little bit about why we're playing an away game after you've won a group in the next round, and just all the shenanigans around that. And of course, we'll get to Herds the Word and all the favorites that you love here on TTID this week. With me, my co-host Jeffrey P. Nesker and Noel Allen dropping in this week. Guys, how you doing?
It's good to be back, man. It's been a minute. I feel like it's nice to see the show again. I'll be remiss if I don't open with a shout out to Oliver, by way of his fiance Claudia, who I worked with over the last 8 days leading up to this. He gets a shout out because I don't disappoint Claudia. I've learned not to do that over the course of the show. So Oliver, this one's for you. Let's get into it. It's pretty wacky. I wasn't at Leagues Cup. I don't think you were, Noel. I know Mike was. So yeah,
nope.
It's yeah.
Huh? Well, okay, guys. Maybe we'll just start.
Yeah,
there,
interesting
then.
time.
Yeah, let's jump into Leagues Cup because this is going to be an interesting conversation. I think. Like, first of all, let's talk about the results. All right, so a 2 games in a 3-team group in which you tie the first game against New York Red Bulls, win in shootout, 0-0 draw, win on penalties, so you get the extra not loser point for that one. And then, of course, it is a 2-1 win over Pachuca at BMO Field on Sunday. That sends, Toronto FC were already through by virtue of other results, but basically you win a penalty shootout and I guess you get through the round of 32. There you go. But still an impressive 2-1 win against Pachuca, essentially, the reigning CONCACAF Cup champions at BMO Field. So wanted to get your guys' perspective. You both watched the game. I was there, so I'll give my perspective in terms of being there live. But having watched the game, maybe thinking about how maybe this team is starting to turn a bit of a corner. It feels like there might be a corner turn here. Like, very impressive performance against Pachuca. But wanted to get your thoughts both on sort of the it seems like the solidifying of the team now that everybody's healthy. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. Jeff, I'll start with you.
I think the story of the team is asking that question and perpetually having different answers for it. That's what I think we're at with TFC right now. It is, are we back? They might as well put that instead of all for one on the back of the next year's jersey. Like, are we back? We can't answer that because, in a week we'll be talking about 4 straight losses, right? This is the team that we have. I think it's fair to ask those questions. Certainly, we have to fill airtime some way, but quite honestly, we know the answer, and the answer is no. It's cyclical. We're like in the 9th ring of hell with this squad, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes it looks amazing, and sometimes they look like they're playing Timbit soccer out there. What can you divine from this game, right? Like, far be it for me to say the ghost of someone's B team, because I've gotten my clock cleaned with that turn of phrase before. But when they're fielding number 3,498 on the roster, can you say you're playing Pachuca? Like, can you honestly? I know, we are, but can you say you're playing the CONCACAF Champions Cup team when they're fielding number 190, number 276? Like, I don't know if you can. So yeah, it's a win. They look great out there. I have lots of notes on the individual players that look great out there, but like at the end of the day, you know, the collusion of this tournament being so unbelievably Bush League Mickey Mouse and number 190 on the jersey, like what can you do? Like really, like what can you say? I wonder if you guys have a different perspective. Noli, like what can you say about that?
You can only beat who's in front of you. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, on the consistency part, the only thing that we can say about this TFC team is the inconsistency is the consistency, right? We either win 7 games and then we'll lose 7 games. That's the only thing you can really bank on. It's the only thing you can really kind of go through is the fact that we're on a 4-game win streak, as Sean told me yesterday. And then I'm like, okay, so if we get to 7, then we'll probably lose a couple at the end of the season, and you know we're back to square one. Like at the end of the day, I think Pachuca kind of maybe outsmarted us a little bit because I think they kind of fielded a team thinking, you know what, we can go and beat Tigres. We play them every week. I don't know necessarily think they feel like they wanted to take on Miami, and I think they may have just kind of outsmarted us a little bit on that. But at the end of the day, you know, if you listen to Herdman's comments and if you listen to kind of what they were saying and kind of going through some of the comments after, it looks like we're using this as a way of developing the team. It's looking like they're using this as a way of trying to establish a certain gameplay against a certain side will play a high press. Because obviously we've talked about this all year. We've struggled against teams with high press. And this Pachuca side, whichever version you want to call this, plays a high press. And so we're trying to figure out how that we adapt, and Herdman's trying to figure out how he adapts. And, you know, I made the comment on the Tunnel Club yesterday. It's very interesting to see him make the comments about there was some friction, there was some heated debates in training this week about the tactics and about the way of playing. But I think it kind of paid off in terms of the result and the performance, because at the end of the day, that first 45 minutes, you know, they were very dominant, and we can't really
100%.
And I think they were lucky, or their goal was a little bit lucky, but it's kind of a classic TFC goal we give up, which we've given up all season, individual errors, and you know those things kind of account to it. But at the end of the day, you know, the winner is an absolutely off the training field exercise that finally paid off, which that's massive. So you can only beat who's in front of you, and at the end of the day, they put in a performance and got there. Do I think they're going to go and beat Miami? Probably not. But you know, you got to take the lessons from the game, and can they do it consistently in the league to finish out the season? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's interesting because seeing it live, first of all, we weren't necessarily playing the entire B. Like I'm going to dispute the B squad thing. I thought we were playing.
Please, everybody does. It's like a heritage moment.
Regulars. Yeah. Like we played quite a few. They played quite a few regulars, right? Yes, there were I think 2 players that started that.
No Mbappe.
Academy players. Yeah. Well, they trust me, like they had a 7 and they also had like a 186 too. So like I had to explain that to somebody who was texting me.
The board didn't have enough room. The MLS board, like they had to take a number off one person to give it to another. It was absolutely fantastic. It was like that's Leagues Cup in a microcosm. Like the board can't even give the numbers.
It's an MLS special. That's what it comes down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I had to explain to somebody. It's like, yeah, that's an academy player. That's like essentially the registration. But like. Still, right? Like I still think Toronto FC right now is not in a position that can say, oh, well, we played someone B team, and yes, we played them off the park, but we should dismiss it as a result. Like, no, this team still needs to continue to work on all the things that we kind of saw in those first 45, I would say for the majority of the game.
The majority of the game.
You're completely right. Like the goal we conceded very much was a kind of typical TFC conceded goal.
Brain fart.
But I think the response was much better than we've seen in, say, the last month, call it month and a half, right? In terms of this team went down and it didn't quite quit. It didn't give up. It kind of had shades of early TFC. I remember a couple weeks ago, and I think on our last show, Michael saying one of the questions he had asked was, is this team closer to the early season version of TFC, or more to the version we've seen in the last little bit? And I kind of copped out by saying we're somewhere in between that. Like, and I know it's a
that's the right answer. But that's the right answer.
We're
chaos. We're
right
chaos.
Now. Yeah, you're going to get performances from this team where they still look like the worst team in the league. And then you'll get opportunities where and moments where this team, for whatever reason, shows a lot more fight, may go down and then starts to build back up and can find a way to either equalize or take leads later in games. And that is an encouraging thing, right? It's not the only thing. I'm not sure if that is an indicator of this team is going to make a playoff run or they're going to make a really deep cup run. All it really means in this sort of singular view is that there is a microcosm of improvement. And really, that's kind of what we want to see out of this team. And Jeffrey, you bring it up all the time, right? Like, I wanted to say David Goss, but not David Goss.
Yeah.
Matty
Matt Doyle.
Coming on the
no
show
panic
earlier
button.
in the year.
Yeah.
Coming on the show earlier this year saying, like, throw away your panic buttons. Don't think about it too much. Just enjoy any incremental improvement.
Orange slices and hugs at halftime. Like,
Right,
that's the extent of it. Yeah.
We have 10 more wins than last year.
Well,
That's
yes,
the big one.
and
10 more
that's
wins.
the thing, right? But no, that's the thing. We know as TFC fans, you sickos that are watching right now, we know that once the bar gets raised at this club, it gets raised high by its fan base, right? Like once we start winning games and getting into a position of playoffs, we expect get to the playoffs. The bar moves very quickly at TFC, and I think that is sometimes a perspective. That's hard to have, and I don't expect everybody to have the same perspective in that way, but it's a perspective that we need to have, that this team has improved, even though there is a stretch of games where they went winless in 10 and were dire, right? But I think having Jonathan Osorio back, having Richie Larea back is making a massive difference. It
Massive
really is.
difference.
And I think somebody
Massive
posted
difference.
the record for TFC with Jonathan Osorio.
With and without
lineup,
Jonathan Osorio,
without him,
yeah.
and basically they're a last place team without him, and they're a playoff contender with him. So that is and again, another encouraging sign if you can keep your captain on the pitch and playing well. But I wonder for you guys, Jeff, you mentioned that you have a couple of individual players you wanted to note and shout out. So.
I loved the sort of DIY tifo that original 109 threw up. We're tuning out the Herdman noise. I think it was important. That's about as much as I'm going to talk about DroneGate. If you want my takes, they're all over the internet. You don't have to look.
No worries. We'll have a subsequent show on that.
They're on fire, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. Leave requests.
I did enjoy that. Calcio Aculo brought up my first point, which is Insigne more of a facilitator in the club discussion. Look, he's a bust. He's not worth what we're paying for.
Oh, okay.
But. There's a lot of things that I liked about his performance on the night, right? I don't think you pay $14 million for like an 8-10 hybrid that chips balls occasionally for your false nine to put away, right? That you're overpaying for that. You take that out of the equation, that was a lovely little chip ball to Derek Etienne Jr. to finish up, right? Wonderful. So if you take the disappointment over the bottom line, which really isn't our problem, unless you factor in, well, this $19 beer is paying for Insigne, and then you get pissed off and then you want to cry. But before that, like, he's doing things out there. They're not necessarily the things we expected. They're not the things we want. But to say that he's doing nothing is wrong. He's doing things out there. And my question to you is, like, is that, like, I don't even know my question. Like, that was lovely, but do we need a player of Insigne's quality to be doing that lovely? Can we get a player that does that doesn't cost an arm and a leg kind of thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's sort of like working into this role as the facilitator, the sort of 8-10 kind of guy. Thankfully he's not taking shots from distance as much as he was before. He's playing nice. He's involved in all the sellies. It's wonderful to see. Vibes. But there's a bad, like, it's hard to be satisfied with that, and maybe that's a me problem. Because because like, if it wasn't for the other stuff, that was a wonderful performance. If it wasn't for me going, okay, he only played 75 minutes or 80 minutes or whatever, like, he came as advertised, and that goal doesn't happen without what he did to get Etienne in the box. You know what I mean?
No, what do you think?
Because I watch a lot of Nashville and I watch Hani Mukhtar make those passes all the times that sets, Jacob Schaffelberg free, that sets other players free. And I sit there and I drool over that because that's what I want. I want that killer pass because at the end of the day, you pay for moments of quality. I would much rather sit here and watch him doing little dink passes like that puts somebody like Etienne Jr. in one-on-one than this. Let's go to the wing, cut back, get blocked, fire a shot over the bar, and once every 7 or 8 attempts, it goes somewhere near the goal. I'd rather him sit there and just dictate the play because you don't have to run. He's got no pace. So what has he got? He's got a wonderful touch. He's got wonderful vision, and he's got the ability to play that pass. And I think you're far more effective giving him that role than the winger role that he's just not got the pace for anymore. So
100%.
You have to adapt. We're contracted. We're held to him. We're held to him till 2026 because there's no way in hell he's getting out of this contract. So how do you make that 15 million investment? And I'm over the money now. It's it's long gone. It's done. But we need someone to facilitate those passes because at the end of he made Etienne Jr. look like he should be our number 9 every week because he gave him
100%.
2 or 3 really good chances in that game. And I think I'd rather him be doing that. And then we have JMR going down the wings and Spicer going down the wings and Fede going down the wings. Like, I just don't know what else you do with him if you don't have him playing that 8 to 10 hybrid at this point, because we are screaming out for a 10. We are really screaming out for a 10.
Screaming.
Because at the end of the day, we need a 9 as well, but we do need a 10. At the end of the day, if you can get him in that role where he's got a little bit of time and space on the ball, he'll pick teams apart. And that's going to be the difference between us being a playoff team and not being a playoff team.
Let me just quickly interject before I lose focus. It's funny. I wish I could go back in time and see Victor Vasquez at Cruz Azul, where he was so unhappy that we ended up getting him on a sweetheart TAM deal, right? Because when Victor came, he knew his role, right? He wasn't the goal scorer. Like, he took a free kick and went under the wall and made me squeal on occasion, but like, he wasn't a goal scorer. He understood the assignment. It was to unlock Seba and Josie, and he played it perfectly. Are we one club too early for Lorenzo to make that realization, right? Or is it a fault in the management? Like, to say, listen, winger, no. Number 8, 10, good. Do it. We're paying you. Like, I don't understand. Like, this like, he can't, you're very clear. He can't do it anymore. And someone else can, and that someone else is JMR, who's waiting in the wings, just getting better and better with his limited minutes almost every game. This was easily the best game I've ever seen JMR play in a TFC shirt. He didn't put a foot wrong. He was brilliant out there. In his limited minutes, he was absolutely brilliant out there. Like, I was sitting there and I'm like, I get it. I understand why we can't give up on this guy, because if he's got that in his locker, he's worth all the frustration. Right? This is a homegrown. You do not part with a homegrown that can do that on occasion. That was ridiculous. So I don't know what it is. And people, the before Mikey gets in, and I'm sorry, I totally scooped your energy here. But Danny's saying we need a striker. Keith Sweat is saying, great name, we need a striker. Like, do we? Derek Etienne is we're paying what, like his bus fare from Atlanta, and he's doing it well. Like, it really, at the end of the day, if Lorenzo can do that, you just need a guy who makes runs that has feet. Do you know what I mean? And like a decent like idea of the game. So
let me jump in, because I'm gonna give
please, Mike,
to what Danny's saying. So I'm gonna still post it. All right, somebody could finish. He creates chances. He's worth it. Just if he's got a quality striker, his facilitation comes from so far from goal, because no one draws attention centrally. Yes, that is true to a certain extent. To answer your question, Jeff, in terms of is he a bust or not, or can we find someone that can do that costs much less? Yes, you could. But at this moment, we don't have anybody else.
He's the guy. He's our guy.
So he's the guy, right? So, if this team under Bill Manning prior had been running in a way that was much more efficient in the way that it scouted and found players around the world. You know, you can find a Gazdag, you can find guys like a Reynoso. I know he ended up being a pain in the ass in Minnesota.
Oh my God.
But like,
No
you know what I
thanks.
mean? You can find
Yeah.
but when playing, those guys can do those kind of things. They can find those
Sure.
pockets of space. They can tear teams apart without necessarily having to score all the goals or being the guy who takes everybody on one, right? And if you find someone who can work as a striker, work with that 10, whatever you want to call that position. I know in modern football now you're not really using number 10s, but let's just use 10 for the sake of terminology here.
Sure.
To that player that can create and unlock things, and you find a striker that can be on that same level, to think on that same level, to be able to know in certain positions that I can make this run because that player is skilled enough and smart enough to be able to see me making that play, then yes, it works, right? It works. And can you call him overpaid at that point? You know, that's for debate. I mean, in the end of the day, on the salary sheet in terms of a cap, he costs the same as Federico Bernardeschi, right? So like in the end of the day, does it really matter?
It's an MLSE
yes,
problem.
It's a
My
MLS
my beer's $19. It's kind of a
it's
Jeff
an MLS
problem.
funny money problem. But in the end of the day, like if that's what you got to pay to get that kind of quality, then that's what you got to pay. I do think you can find someone cheaper somewhere in the world that can do that. But given that we have the guy right now and he could play that role, sure. Is that the long-term solution for how TFC play? I don't know, because I think John Herdman's pretty married to the way that this team gets lined up, which means he would play on a wing, right? But
I think that's folly. I mean, judging small sample size, but judging from what we've seen, that's where you play Lorenzo Insigne. I hate to say it, but like,
I don't disagree. I don't.
But
that's where you play.
But that's the question: is will fans have the patience? Like in the sense that
I think fans are out of patience. That's a terrible question. They have no patience for anything.
I don't think. Well, in terms of Lorenzo Insigne, I don't think that's the truth. I mean, I was there Sunday. He got the biggest fan.
Let's put it this
when
way:
his name was called out during the
Bede's
opening.
redemption tour was at right back. So maybe the answer for Lorenzo's redemption tour is getting him out of that wing position and putting him in a place where he can be effective and do the Victor Vasquez things that unlock, you know, the strikers we have right now. And then it's not blocking JMR anymore because, you know, everyone's like, he's so inconsistent. And I'd be a fool if I didn't agree with that. But how can you be consistent when you're not playing, right? Like it's a chicken egg situation. Do you know what I mean? Let's get he just keeps getting better in limited minutes. Let's give the boy an opportunity to run full 90. We know we can do it. He's got an engine. You know, it was a superb cross. It was a world-class elite cross. That was a ridiculous cross.
World class. I don't know.
I think it was
good cross. He
technically
missed Prince Wosu. I mean, I think he was trying to go for Prince Wosu and missed him. But like,
I think that was right from the training ground. I think that Kobe and him have been working on that for eons, and that was the idea, to go over Prince to get that, because Kobe's in all of that space, you know. Anyway, listen. I've slagged him forever,
but
I don't care.
It's still a great cross. It's still a great cross, right? Because it's a great cross in a sense that it's the thing we've kind of wanted to see from JMR for a while. He beats this man one-on-one, uses his pace,
put him on skates,
doesn't defer, right? This is something we've talked about in the past with him, where he has opportunities to either put the ball in the box or, you know, drive at someone, and he'll defer and cut it back inside to the inside midfielder. That's and then slow everything down, right? And this time he decided, I'm taking you on, and I'm going to get something out of this, whether it's a cross, probably a deflected cross into a corner, whatever the case may be, being dynamic. And that's the thing we've kind of waited for from him. It's not all there yet.
Herdman said it, right? He said they asked him to do it all year. They've asked him to do it all year, and he finally did it. Like, and you see the result. And I think you listen to Herdman's comments when he says it, there is some frustration in that comment when he's saying it, because he's not happy. He's like, but that's what we've been asking for him to do, head down, run at them, because pace terrifies defenders, right? Whether,
Of
you're going
course.
backwards. Look at the way that we panic when we defend going backwards, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's what they're asking him to do. Put your head down and charge. And that's what Spicer does wholeheartedly all season long.
That's what Shaft did that we loved about him. Yeah.
And that's what we're missing.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic that he did it. But my thing is with JMR, he has to do it this week. He has to do it next week. He has to do it the week after, whether it's limited minutes or whatever. He has to keep doing that, because like Shaft, everyone's raving about Schaffelberg in Nashville and stuff, which is great. And it is true. But they just say, look, Shaft, this is what you do. Do it every week. That's what he's been doing in Nashville.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing for Canada. Jesse Marsh has just gone, hey, I've watched you in Nashville. Just do this. Do it again.
Yeah, just do
it
this.
again.
You have one job.
Repetition. And you can be a
Don't worry if you get dispossessed. No, because you're going to, it's funner to get dispossessed running at 8 guys than back passing. Let Davey Flores do all the back passing to change the tempo. Like, let JMR pace merchant, just agent of chaos down that flank. And I think he starts over Lorenzo, because pace is what unlocks defenses in MLS. It isn't technique. It isn't slowing the game down on the flanks. And it certainly isn't whatever the hell we've been watching from that guy for almost 2 years now. I loved him in that position. I mean, Kobe was unbelievable.
Well, congratulations to him. First senior goal.
Yeah.
And a well-taken one that I will say that I think he's been working on in terms of finishing those opportunities, because he's had these chances. He's popped up in these positions before and them badly. But
man.
This is what he took really, really well. So congratulations to him. And he's one of those players who, look, for a lot of us, he was player of the season last year, right? Like, he was in a team that was not very good. So take that for what it is. But, this is a guy who finished second on minutes last year. Now, it was out of necessity. So, again, take that with a grain. But this is a player who has found it hard to get minutes this year, right? And found it hard to nail down a consistent spot in this team. And for him to still be relatively dependable in those moments when he is asked to come on. And of course, obviously, it gets highlighted and rewarded with a goal on Sunday. This speaks again to the amount of work rate. I mean, everybody talks about it when they talk about Kobe, is his work rate and how much he works. The question now, and it's almost the same conversation that we're having with JMR, it's the same question we're having with him. Consistency, being able to do that again and again each game, right? And that's just young players, right?
Yep.
He's still a relatively young guy, from that perspective. So can he take this now and kick on and start challenging for a role? I mean, I don't think he's displacing any of your starters at the moment, but, to actually get himself up that depth chart. So he's now one of the first people you think of when you're coming off the bench.
Yep. Defense had a howler, I think, especially Nixon Gomes. The brain fart, obviously, but also, how the hell was he offside? I don't think he was. But it looked like he was. I mean, they sure showed enough pictures and infographics. But I'm getting sick of VAR and the offside by like a tenth of a toenail kind of BS that we're seeing.
It's a shoulder, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's a shoulder between onside and offside. I thought I remember the days when it used to be the attacker got the advantage. It's clearly not anymore. Right? So
no,
I
very, very strict.
Yeah, and I did feel it was harsh. I did feel that goal was a legitimate good goal. And at the end of the day, from the naked eye, you couldn't tell. So, I think they should let that go. But
what surprised me about that, though, is that there was a VAR monitor there, right? Like,
he didn't go to it.
There, he didn't even go to it, right? So that they was, and I get it because the offside was called on field just as or just before the goal was scored. Actually, it was really weird. The flag went up almost as soon as he was about to strike the ball, the flag had gone up. So a lot of people started celebrating, and I had to calm people down and be like, the flag's up. But I just found it interesting that they didn't ask him to go check the monitor.
No.
Again,
Shenanigans.
We could get into that. That goes into
tinfoil
the
hat
VAR conversation. I don't think we really want to go there with this show. Another player, though, I do want to talk about a little bit is this sort of. We talked about him a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but this resurgence in Kosi Thompson. Like,
And
Yeah.
I think we now have to legitimately think that John Herdman believes that right now without Alonso Cuejo, he's the starting midfielder on this team, and he's going to give him minutes and starting minutes, which surprises me a little bit. But look, Kosi's played okay. Like it's not earth shattering. It's not.
He was really good.
He was really good. But he was really good again, and like he's making some people, including probably myself, eat my words a little bit in terms of the way that he's playing, and that's not a bad thing.
Here, Danny, I've been Cozy's biggest hater, but ever since he called the CPL trash, he's really up his game.
He has to back it up, right? He now has to be like, oh crap, like this is
short Servania. I love it. I love it. That's fantastic.
The shorts power is starting to
power.
to come through. But yeah, no, I mean, I want to get your guys' thoughts on Kosi over these last couple of games. Is it
7.5 out of 10?
I called him the Swiss
solid
Army
7.5
right?
out of 10.
Yeah, he's become that guy that just plays all these positions for Herdman, and I think Herdman digs him. I may have referenced, I think he's become the Mark Anthony K for John Herdman, right? Or like the Bob Bradley version.
The Nick DeLeon, please, or the Tsubasa Endo. Yeah,
he's still a utility player, Gord. Like in the end of the day, the best of Kosi Thompson is a guy you can plug in and do a job. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a diss.
Not at all.
It's not a diss. It's a good thing. That's the kind of guy that has a 15-year career because teams realize, oh, I need that guy on my team.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like who's gonna slag the Tommy McNamara's of the world? They do a job, and it's important to have one. He's young. He comes in very, very, very. He's young. He's cheap. He's not Ame Babika. So I mean, all signs point to yes, right?
Well, I think the thing that he got challenged
with Nico Hassler. I love it. I love it. There we go.
That's actually not that
far
off. Look, you lose Nico Hassler after 20. Yeah, you lose Nico Hassler after 2018. Things didn't look so good. Everybody was
100%
to come back. So, like, I think. And again, it's this conversation around our academy players and like, do they all have to be superstars, right? Like, no, they got to come in and do a job, and some will become stars, and you can sell them for big money, and that's great. But if you can develop guys out of your academy that can come in and fill roles that you then don't have to go out into MLS free agency and go sign guys from overseas that you're I think they're going to be good. We've done a lot of scouting. They should fit in, but maybe it won't work. Like, that's a good thing. In MLS, you're in a healthy position to then go off and do the things that we've been talking about. Go get a quality number 9. Go get a really good 6. Go get quality center backs, right? Go find a 10 that could really change a game for you, because you're not spending your money or all this extra gam money on players. You're kind of like, they maybe work out, 100%. Maybe they don't, right? Like, so...
Yeah,
I think Kosi's in a really good spot right now, and that's saying something for a guy who a lot of people, including myself, thought, I don't know if they have a future. I didn't know at the beginning of the year if they had a future.
What's this? He's also signed for the next little while. TFC is going to remain his home. Cozy getting re-signed, new Toronto gigs. Yeah, I mean, they'd be foolish not to re-sign him. Like,
I don't think a lot, right?
Yeah, he's not going to cost a lot.
He's added a bit of steel to his game, which I really like. And I think that, again, this is something that John Herdman
studs out, man.
With. Yeah, he challenged him with at the beginning of the year, him and Alonso to be a little bit more like Davey, to be a little bit more tougher in the midfield, to go in and win tackles and work hard, and then add that to your game in terms of your passing and your ability to read the game and things like that. Like, those are things Kosi's pretty good at. Not elite, but getting better, but not elite. But a guy who can read a game, can make the simple pass, knows who to get the ball to when, but now has added the ability to win the ball and be aggressive in midfield. And that, I think, is the change. That is the change in Kosi that's making him a more reliable piece in your lineup.
Yep. 100%. Maybe he's never going to score a Nick DeLeon screamer, but he's also vaccinated. So, it's like a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I thought Sean Johnson had a bit of a howler. I didn't feel too confident about stuffs, but I think that's more on the defense than it is on Sean Johnson. I thought the defense was porous. They were like Swiss cheese out there.
I thought Kevin Long looked very tired.
Very
Long,
tired.
That I will.
Very tired.
He looks like
Yeah.
a guy who hasn't played that many games in a season in a while, and he hasn't, right? Like he hasn't because of injuries. This is probably the healthiest he's been in 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
And he looked
we
like
definitely
he looked just in that last part of the game. He looked like he looked like he'd been on a bender for a few days and then decided to play football. That's what he looked like, right? You know, we've all been there and done that. And so, you know, you kind of hope Henry Wingo can give him some break and give him, you know, a bit of a research, because I do think there's a role for him. I do think there's you do need someone. He does communicate very loudly, which is something I don't always see at TFC, which
he's our most important defender, I think. Yeah,
I do. I just think he needs a break, though. He just looks like, look how I feel some days. Like, he's just tired and need a break. So but I did feel
what do we think of Wingo? I mean, I found him quite anonymous, if we're being honest.
Well, I mean, I'm not. It's hard to give him a grade when he played 30 minutes, not even. So again, let him start, and I can give him a real grade on that. I mean, look, in the end of the day, he's on the field when you score. He ends up helping you keep the lead, and doesn't have to do too much. Which is a good thing, right? Like if we're sitting here having a long conversation about Henry Wingo's first debut game, probably not a good thing, right? So
that's 100% fair.
So from that perspective, again, let him start. Maybe he starts on Thursday against Miami, and we see how he does there. But again, speaking to Kevin Long needing a break, that's a guy who can give Kevin Long a break, right? And let Kevin Long have a night off if need be, and you go from there. The other thing I'll say in terms of individuals, and then maybe we'll go into Herd's the word, but again, I can't overstate this enough. Jonathan Osorio and Richie Larea being back is massive.
Massive.
It really is. Like it changes the dynamic of this team from a team that's probably not going to make the playoffs to one that has a fighting chance and can go on a run to get some playoff seeding. Because again, Richie does what Richie does, and we all know what he does, and he does it really well, whether he's on the left or he's on the right. And then from that perspective, and then of course, I think Jonathan Osorio, though, yes, I saw earlier, I think somebody had a comment that he only has 1 assist this year and things like that. There are still some intangible things he does in the midfield that makes things.
His career is becoming the intangibles, if we're being honest.
He's just somebody who can make things tick over, right? He's not the guy on the end of as many things this season, but he's the guy behind the end product, if you know what I mean. Like
that run into the box
that gets the end product.
I mean, I know it didn't end up being anything, but he did like 100 techers. It was ridiculous. It was so nice to see. Like he was just dancing around those guys like Messi or Ronaldinho, and it was beautiful to watch. Like, I mean, he's a great player. Like, let's not forget, like, maybe he's not going to score at the Azteca again. He probably will because he loves scoring in big games, but like, he's so important to this team. He really, really is. Like, this is a team that runs on Jonathan Osorio, and I can't stand takes that say anything otherwise. I'd be remiss if we didn't, Federico Bernardeschi, like, him having a game that good is starting to become rote, and that's amazing. Like, the fact that we don't call out how ridiculous his game was is kind of hilarious. Like, he was a beast out there, an absolute beast. It's stupid. It's stupid. Our DP defends as often as he attacks. It's ridiculous. Like, he's so fit and he's so willing to do the dirty work. Like, no complaints. 100 out of 10. No notes. Holy ass, what a performance. Like, absolute monster out there. It's insane. It's insane. It's crazy how good he is out there.
But just on the Osorio thing, I would say the biggest difference is with him and Richie on the pitch, it's the accountability and commitment that they make everybody else have, which is when they're missing is clearly evident is when we drop off, right? So, we talk about the intangibles. That's one of the things, like him barking orders at somebody and making sure they're in the right position, or they learn from it, or they don't do it again. That's kind of the Richie and Oso way at the moment. I think that's the part for me that they are bringing to the game that you don't see. But when they aren't there, that's what we miss. Look at that game the other week where we collapsed, where everyone just, you could tell, there's no one screaming, right? And we're sitting on here every week and we talk about this, and we talk about, where's the leadership council, where's this? Oso and Richie are that leadership council by a country mile. And it is nice to see, I will say this week, it was nice to see Fede and Insigne passing to other people, not each other, because Richie's on the pitch, Oso's on the pitch. They have their trust, they have their buy-in, and that's the difference. When it's more than just two of them out there trying to change the game, and you got four guys out there changing the game. And I think it's the accountability, and that's always what we've asked for. And do I think Oso's had a great year? Not really. But on the pitch, there's a difference because he's actually become that little bit of the leader that Michael Bradley was in terms of making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing on their point. And, there's a value to that. And I think that's a value that we've been missing in a lot of this, weird season of, everyone's been away for feels like an entire 6 months, on various tournaments, various competitions, various
injuries, various whatever the hell. Yeah.
And now we're in this next phase of whatever this League's Cup is, which is again just another Mickey Mouse Messi Invitational trophy that we're all living in.
So stupid. And he's not even playing. They
totally get it to him being played. Like you can just.
I know it's like going to the wedding that the groom is skipping. You know what I mean? Like all the ads are Messi. Like they've got animated little Messis dancing around, and he's not there. I think it's hilarious that Inter Miami are still kicking ass.
I know. But you're able to sign 18 U22 contracts and can essentially make the league change the league rules. To bend in your favor.
I mean, what can we say, Mike? It's so ridiculous. Like the fact that it's so ridiculous, and the problem is that it's exhausting. Like we've had a conversation about what everybody else in the world does about other issues. You know what I mean? So here we are again trying to defend this tournament where it's upside down world. It's bizarro world. It's like, how the hell do we have an away game when we've won our group of 3, by the way, which is completely ridiculous. like it's so insanely ridiculous. There's no sportsmanship in this. It's a grab bag of insanity, but it's still a trophy. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And I've slagged it so much. They're obviously going to win it. I'm going to have to eat all the S sandwiches. I'm happy to do it. It's sort of my job, but it's just so dumb. It's just so dumb.
Well, look, I think what it does, in a weird way, is okay. Look, some of the games have actually been entertaining. So, from that perspective, I
like soccer. Of course, they're entertaining.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily slag it completely. It's not like the games, some of them have been absolute duds, but and clearly, some of the Mexican teams just do not give an ass about this, right? They're just like, okay, I'll play your 2 dumb games, and then I'm gonna go get ready for the Clausura, the real season. And some will take it seriously, and that's fine. What it does, though, to me, is it kind of this should be a start of a stretch drive where you're thinking about the playoffs and playoff seeding and get if MLS is really thinking about, okay, we want playoffs to be this thing, right, where people get excited about a playoff run, and we're expanding the amount of teams that can get into playoffs because we want more teams to be involved so that fan bases feel like they're in it at the end of the season. This just puts a whole month stopper on that. Right, at the end of the day, you're okay, because we were talking about it right before.
Whiplash,
get a win, big
fixture
win.
whiplash.
Right. They go to Montreal, they get a big win. All right, they get an away win, and now they're in the race, and then all of a sudden we got to stop. Right, and it just feels.
Hey, we're playing Pachuca.
Right, which don't get me wrong, Pachuca are a big club, and you want them to, that is a prestigious in a way if you're a CONCACAF soccer wonk, but if you're not and you don't give an about it, people went to that game on Sunday. I could see people making who is this team? I'm here. It's in my season ticket package, so I'm here. But who? You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Again, for soccer people and probably the people who are watching and listening to this podcast, you know exactly who Pachuca are. You know how big they are. You know how big they are in Mexican soccer.
I want to play in their stadium.
But this is an American thing.
I want
It's
to,
an
if we're
yeah.
playing Liga
That's-
MX
yeah, that's
teams, I want to
want a
play in
road
their
trip to
stadiums.
somewhere
I want
nice
to,
and
yeah.
warm.
Yeah.
Or I just want to watch it on TV. Have you seen some of these stadiums?
Can we play
Like,
this in
oh
January?
my God. Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
it's
It
ridiculous.
is
It's
dumb.
ridiculous.
And of course, in terms of us having to go to Miami now for this game, which we won our group and they finished second, but they're hosting.
To place the runner-up. To play the
Look,
runner-up.
we know why.
That's
Okay.
bonkers.
Everybody
You
knows
know,
why.
It's a pink shirt that has a number 10 on it. So from that perspective, that is exactly why. From the knockout stage on, all those games are playing in Miami, right? Like, so
100%. We were always going to Miami. It was just a matter of when. Like,
exactly,
everybody's
right?
going
Like,
to
it was
Miami.
gonna go to Fort
Everyone's
Lauderdale
going to
at
Miami.
some point.
Yeah.
You
Everyone's
here
going.
it is.
Yeah.
That said, TFC do actually have a chance for a little bit of revenge. Obviously, remember last time we went to Miami, did not go well. That was a messy list. I'm pretty sure it was a Busquets.
It was
see us
messy
winning
list.
this. I can
Yeah.
see us winning.
Yeah,
it was
funny enough, I
messy
can
list.
also
But I
see
can
us
see us
winning
winning
this.
this.
Me too.
Just
Well, we're
to
used
annoy
to the humidity
establishment,
now.
I think it'd be
We're
great.
used to Toronto humidity now, and to be honest, Fort Lauderdale humidity is about the same as we've been getting this summer in Toronto. So, I think we've got a bluffer's chance. Listen, the Leagues Cup took away our CNE Impact derby, and I will never forgive it for that. I will never forgive the Leagues Cup for taking
I love
away
the derby at
our.
CNE, but man, I hate them crowds around there, man. It's
I
a
hate.
mess.
Nah,
trying to
I
get
don't
in
care.
the stadium.
It's all just have another Tiny Tim donut. Like, don't worry, just like
I can never get a
it's all
Tiny Tim
fine.
donut. The lineups are too damn long.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's
just
like an hour long
just
to get a donut.
whoever's the dumbest in your group is who waits in line. You make them wait in line while you do the rest of the X, and then you come back in an hour and you eat some delicious hot cinnamon Tiny Tim donuts.
Jeff
No,
should
it's stupid and it's
burn
dumb and I hate it.
donut for him.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
the
yeah.
dumbest.
All
Yeah,
right, Jeff,
you can.
got a
I'll
little
put you on
Hurts
my
the word
list.
for us.
I
You got a little
do
Hurts
have a little Hurts the word. I actually have two, and I can't remember which one's good or not, so I'm just gonna play both of them. Here we go.
All right.
Can I see that paper for a sec? Huh, that's odd. What are you talking about? Oh, have you not heard? Heard what?
Heard the word. Heard the word. Don't you know about the herd? Surfing!
Anything can happen in football these days.
Number one.
Hey, Neil. Congratulations, Neil Davidson from the Canadian Press. You win the group and you get an away game into Miami. Do you feel like asking for a recount or something?
Yeah, I think it was pick your poison, really. We were watching Tigres against Miami, and they look very good. I mean, it was difficult because you've never gone into a game to ever think, let's not win to get a home match. The players were so clear, the leadership group, that we've been on a good run for the last, I think, four games, and we just wanted to keep that winning mentality. And the real focus tonight was we weren't happy about our attacking performance against Red Bulls. We were happy with the defending, and tonight they took it up a notch. So the win was important, I think, for the fans. Just to see a team like Pachuca here was nice, with players like Rondon. I thought the lads kept him quite quiet tonight until his big moments. But all in all, we get the extra day recovery. So that helps. We don't get the home advantage, but we get a day's recovery. So we were weighing that up, Neil. Thank you.
Number two.
Hey, James. Good to see you, John. Just a little bit more on Kobe. We saw the celebration, what it meant to him, and we know that a couple of those went missing earlier in the year.
Yeah, we had this conversation about the big opportunity. So I was just saying to my assistant coach when he had a chance with the header, when he first came on, and I was like, I'm sure he's saying it's in his head, your opportunity's being missed. So for him to go and do it again, but you got to say, how good was Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy tonight? Coming on, what an impact. That's as good as I've seen him. He just played in a real, what I'd say, a flow state. So, with those two who, it's funny because if you go and watch them at the end of training, they're the two that are there every single day with Alex Dodgson, the wing-back coach. Every day the two of them do an extra 15, 20, 30 minutes. And hard work pays off. So if there's any young players out there, that goal was a hard work pays off goal for young players.
Wing back coach That's amazing. I like the way he says that. Here's another example of how stupid this tournament is. When they place the drinks in other press conferences, there's at least the illusion that the guys are drinking them, right? Even though they never touch them, they're there for show. But they're on like either side of him, and it's called Body Armor Sports Drink. Like we're getting into Simpsons territory here, like with Magnet Box and Phony. Like,
from, man.
Oh no, this absolutely, but like it's just so bloody obvious. Body Armor Sports Drink. Like, does Logan Paul have anything to do with that? Because it feels like it does.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you've had Body Armor Sports Drink? It's got Malk in it. It's got.
Avoid. I would avoid. I'd avoid Prime too.
Yeah, chock full of Malk.
Yeah, like I think going into the comments, I think like with John, look, in terms of the extra days rest and stuff like that, sure, okay, that's fine. I think he was trying to hide a little bit of this is kind of ridiculous by saying, hey,
yeah,
maybe we want to take on Inter Miami instead of Tigres. That said, look, I think at the end of the day, I think I think you said it, Noel. I think they got a puncher's chance to go down there and get a result.
100%.
Especially no Messi again. So that will be a thing. Though the other friends will be available. So, from that perspective, there's that. And then in terms of the second clip, I actually really like, because he did talk about the extra work that Kobe and Shaquille are doing on the pitch, and
with the wingback coach.
Yeah, with the wingback coach, which we've seen. If you've gone to the open practices, they do that work. You do see them doing that work. So again, I think this is when we talked about earlier about sort of just incremental increases of performance and being a little bit better, every couple of months and showing that improvement. That's something that I think TFC fans can kind of, hang a little bit of hope on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know if you guys caught Zlatan Ibrahimovic's comments today too, which I thought was.
I love him. Zlatan
Zlatan came
much.
out and
what
said
an asshole.
MLS will not grow because of the stupid, complex, overcomplicated rules that they have. So it's an interesting read, but it's a good.
Didn't he come on TAM and then was a DP next year because of the stupid, interesting, complicated rules? I love Zlatan. He's my kind of crazy idiot, but he's an idiot. Like most of the stuff that comes out of his
Cups
mouth.
Like this, right? He's
not
MLS
wrong.
Asked me how we ended up away today, and my response was messy. Even it makes us sound.
But that's not stupid rules. That's a cash grab. It's just a cash grab.
Well,
like you know what I mean. Yeah, it's just obvious. Yeah,
they've made that very, very clear from the outset of this cup, right? That this was about Messi and giving Apple as much.
Do you
Messi
think it will
content as
stop
possible.
when he's done playing for Inter Miami? That'd be so funny if it just disappears.
I wouldn't be
They're
surprised.
like, we don't want. Me neither. Me neither.
Though I will say this.
I'll
We'll say
take
this: a lot of supporter groups in the U.S., especially the U.S.-based teams, have actively tried to boycott the Leagues Cup, and I get the reasoning.
Tried is the operative word.
Well, the thing is that in some places the attendance has not been good. I think the other night, like DC United had like a woeful attendance, but they won all their games in their.
There's a lot of those games if you watch. Go back and watch them though. Like there's a lot of empty stadiums, and I think there's. In some cases, the Mexican supporters have outnumbered the home.
Well, that's the thing. That's actually
that's the other cash grab. Yeah, that's cash grab B.
That's actually what saved the attendance in some of these games. Is that diaspora in the States that want to go see Chivas or want to go see
the Guadalajara LA game the other day, right? Like,
it
was
rammed.
Google if they were actually in Guadalajara because it's like when LA scored, it was like, and then when Guadalajara scored.
And then look, when Pachuca scored on Sunday, like it was a visit. There was a audible roar, for Pachuca to score at BMO.
Well, it was a home game for them, according to Leagues Cup, B Cup nonsense. So
yes,
to be fair, there was a guy in my grocery store here in the tiny little town I live in. Because right by us is all the apple orchards. So there's a lot of Mexicans in there. And he was wearing a Pachuca kit the other day. I gave him a high five. So
there you go.
It was interesting. Amazing. But I think the attendance is definitely something. I'm, as I said earlier, like if you play this in March, right? I'm game. right? Because I think at the end of the day, it's too flipping cold in North America for 13 other teams. If you play this game if you do this in March, I think this might be a tournament that you'd get more people into. But
Sure,
you gotta play that
think in the middle
alongside
of
Champions
August, it's a good
Cup
idea.
and all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah, then it
do
gets in the
Champions
way of
Cup,
CONCACAF, and
this is about money.
that-
Let's
yeah,
not
and that-
overthink
and that-
this.
Always.
It's about money.
Yep.
Okay.
It's about
Right.
it's about Messi money. It's about more money to Messi. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
It's
Yep.
about MLS. Sorry for everybody to get into the business side of things, but this is about MLS clubs and Mexican clubs trying to control more of the money.
It's our Super
terms of
League.
broadcast revenues, in terms of corporate revenues, because if you go into your domestic cups, like you have to share that money amongst all the teams that participate and the federation, and they just don't want to do that. That's why MLS wants to pull other teams out of the U.S. Open Cup, and that's why I think here, as fans in Canada, like we're lucky, we're still in the Canadian Championship, and somebody mentioned earlier that we have to win.
Yeah,
the
we get
Canadian
to
Championship. It's a must.
just Schadenfreude the hell out of this tournament.
But don't get complacent and think that this is going to be the forever state, because I would not be surprised if it even starts next year or the year after, where MLS is like, hey, TFC, Montreal, Vancouver, you know, that Canadian Championship thing where you're not getting as much money and you got to share it with these CPL teams, and who the hell is TSS Rovers? Like, why don't you just not do that and stay in our cup, right? Like, and I think that's, as fans, I think if you
maybe
really care
coming
about the Canadian Championship, you're going to have to be diligent about it, because you can't let it drop. Because
no, it's my favorite. I love it.
Right.
We never long live the
I
Voyagers.
just don't like it 7 or 8 weeks apart.
Well,
I think it's amazing.
I
think it's amazing.
Cup,
this
right?
season is so insane. It's so insane.
That's what I mean.
It's
If you look at
amazing.
this, if you look at the gap in this season, our schedule from a fan point of view is bonkers to try and keep a track.
No,
of.
it's
I try and
actively
go
it's
my
actively
schedule every
insulting our
month.
intelligence. Yeah, it is.
Like I have 3 different calendars to try. I'm like, wait, there's a game. I was in England this week and I forgot that we played Red Bulls, and then I woke up and my phone was like, I'm like, wait, I was so confused because we went to a penalty shootout, and I'm like, wait, what? What did I miss? Like, did we get through? Like, I was so confused. And then I did find I should have taken a picture of it. I did see a poster for MLS, and it was Miami versus Toronto. The last game.
No, it was Miami versus Miami, because they just don't care anymore. It was Messi versus Messi. Let's be honest. It was like Pro Evolution Soccer photos. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
It is
Let's stop
interesting.
talking about it for a second, and let's maybe wrap the show on this. One of the comments I got during the week was a question around the transfer window. Not in terms of like when it's going to end, but it is going to close in the next couple of weeks. And I guess the relative lack of movement from TFC in the transfer window. Obviously, we've made one signing, but there's
what a signing!
Yeah, well, we'll see. But we haven't really gone as gangbusters as I think some people thought this window would be, considering comments from the front office, considering, Jason Hernandez's own comments. I wanted to get your guys' thought on that. Like, do you think TFC need to continue to make some moves in this window, or are you thinking we got to just wait till the offseason?
No, because you know what? This is and I get why everyone wants to see signings, because everyone wants to get a couple more players to push for the playoff and kind of get it over the line. That's the issue. That's what it really kind of comes down to, right? But the reality is, if you go and look, we've got 10 players with contracts expiring at the end of the season.
Yeah.
If you're going to make moves, that's the time to make moves. And
100%.
You're going to have to do it, you can't just get somebody for now. You're going to have to do the long term. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right profile. It's got to line up. And I don't see the point in signing somebody that's a rush signing just because that's the best
doing
option but that's how we ended up with Cassius, right?
Stop. Yeah.
We ended up with Cassius. Like, could we have done another 6 months due diligence on him? Could we have done a bit more due diligence on some of the others? And at the end of the day, Prince is out of contract at the end of this year. But the club's got an option for 1 more year, right? At the end of the day, the guy just got benched for Etienne Jr. starting up front. So, at the end of the day, you give him to the end of the season.
Yeah.
You give him to the end of the season to prove his value. And I think that's kind of where, and don't get me wrong, I love transfers. It's my highlight. I could say
Yeah,
about
it's
transfers
great.
all
I
day.
love new
I
hotness.
can't wait to
Fantastic.
get into the Premiership ones, like the absolute Premiership ones. Like the Chelsea thing at
Yeah.
the moment is, you talk about selling homegrown talent. I think the
Yeah.
Chelsea thing at the moment is a great story just for bonkers football. But
Yeah.
when you look at TFC, we've been bonkers since we won MLS Cup. We've
Yep.
been off the rails, on the rails, left of the rails.
We needed Gregory Vanderveel like I need a root canal. Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean?
Jefferson Tiltaldo and his personal bomb of destroying the internal fracture of the team. Like we needed anything. Again, it's due diligence and timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say this, but I'd rather just have a little bit of stability, a little bit
Absolutely.
of the right signing.
Absolutely.
I'd rather have guys that want to be here for 5 years, not like who was our DP last week? Who was the one?
Yeah.
What was his name? Salcedo. Now, we've done this too much. You've got to get these right. And I think you've got to get the U22s. I think we're only going to have 2 DPs, I think, right, is what we're going to probably commit to.
So, that's an interesting thing because, and this is why I don't think you're going to see, you may see one more signing before the window closes, maybe.
I think that was the deal that fell apart where the personal terms ended up being the sticking issue.
Yeah.
The clubs had agreed.
Yeah, so there might be a possibility that you see one more signing by the window closes, but don't be surprised if it doesn't happen. Because really it's going to come down to this new framework of how the team essentially builds itself, right? It's can you buy down Richie, or well, I guess it'll be Richie, because he's taking up the third DP spot, or be it Federico leaves or Lorenzo leaves, or whatever the case may be. But going down the
I can't believe I'm saying this,
DPs,
but I don't ever want Federico to leave our club until his contract's over.
No, it sounds like
my guy.
I think that's where we're at, right? But like, I mean, either way, you're going down to 2 DPs and trying to get 4 U22
we lost
players.
Noel.
Yeah, we did lose Noel. But like, essentially the point remains the same, right? Like, I think you're going to have to wait till the offseason to see significant change, because like right now the roster is kind of bloated right now in terms of players, and there's too many players that you would in theory get rid of that just have no value to anybody.
Yeah,
like you can't
100%.
sell them. You're really not going to be able to trade them in MLS to get anything. That's reasonable. So I think this is kind of it, right? You may get one more signing, but this is the team that's going to ride us for the rest of the season. And then,
the issue is the front office can't shut up, right? Like if they had not said moves are coming, or if they hadn't, stoked the fires of fandom, like if this is kind of on them, it's a them problem. Because I didn't expect there to be a lot of moves. I think quite a few of them have fallen by the wayside for whatever reason. And I think that TFC are rightly afraid of getting burned again. So they're cautious in a way that they should have been a long time ago. Let's welcome Noel back and move all our windows back to where I like them.
But to your point, Jeff, I think like on the other flip side of that, if the front office goes into this transfer window and says absolutely nothing, which they kind of have, right? Like they've been, it's been tight-lipped. Like usually even like you and I, who are not really in the transfer rumor business, like Michael Singh was, or some other people are, like nothing has escaped. Normally something would leak, something would kind of escape.
I think they're rightly gun shy. I think they've done the math. They've crunched the numbers. They know that so many guys are coming off the books. They know what I don't think that's a rumor. Calcio El Culo Fede to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in WW due to 2 Mancinis being there. I don't know. Anyway, I think they're gun shy because they should have been for a long time, and now they are. And I think you made excellent points. There's absolutely no reason to pull the trigger unless it's somebody you've had your eyes on, unless it's like a pause who you've been scouting for years and they suddenly become available.
DP spots available.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
I think
So
they have to be European based to pull the trigger, right? Because that's the windows open for Europe, right? So if they've not got European players lined up
or
and
free,
they're going with this, the South American ones, you can get them in November and December and January, right? You can make those moves. Right. And I think if you're trying to buy U22s, if we're talking about buying U22s, you got to get in before Chelsea buys them all up, because that's what, everyone's now on this. Let's get all the young, talented kids. So I just think we're not signing anyone now because there's nobody in Europe that they want that fits those molds of what they're trying to do. So, I do probably expect them to sign a whole bunch of maybe South American or, some other talents that are available, because at the end of the day, I just don't think they're going into the European market right now. And, I think they're waiting to see how this season pans out and I think there's still a few players, still playing for their TFC future. And I think that's part of why they're not making any moves. And I think the Henry Winger one's like a good example. He's at a European club. He's come up. So they pulled the trigger because, you're going to do it now because he's available.
Well, they were trying
now.
to get him in the winter window and his club just wouldn't let him go. Right.
Exactly.
So,
right?
they were in a title hunt. So
I think that's what you're going to see. But, we're all sat here clamoring for a 9, we're all clamoring for another
the window.
It's not going to happen I don't think till January.
Yeah.
But again, I think it is very deathly quiet. Like, that's, we've been.
Yeah, I think that's
a
good thing.
We had one rumor of some Belgian guy while I was away.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jeff. I think it is a good thing that the window is relatively quiet right now. Like, I think in the sense that if you don't have that guy and you don't have the space right now, right? I don't think you want to artificially make space when you don't necessarily have everything set up the way you
build
want
the
it to
horse before the cart, exactly, or the cart before whatever the hell, whatever the
it's
adage
the cart
is.
before the horse, right? Like now, well, I mean, we already have horses, right? Like that's how we're trying to frantically build a cart. So, from that perspective, that's kind of where that's at in terms of the transfer window. I'm not expecting any other signings. Because frankly, the reason why it's so quiet is literally because there is nothing going on or very little going on in terms of
100%.
I think
all right, guys.
January's going to be massive, though. I think January's going to be.
Oh yeah, January is going to be an absolute.
There's going to be a lot.
Yeah, January is going to be a slaughter. It's going to be.
We might
100%.
need a transfer in and out special just because potentially.
Oh, we'll do it.
A lot of bodies on that.
Yeah. Mikey Singh's going to get Tom Bogert on. He's going to scoop. He's going to give us all the scoops. It's going to be great. Double scoops. Scoops. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yep. Let's float this idea of. I just want to plant a seed in everybody's ear in TTID land. Like, we're losing numbers because we now have to give Elmo money to be streaming on his website. And I want to plant a seed in your, maybe you subscribe to us, maybe give us a little kablinky, a tip jar, whatever. I know Venmo doesn't exist here. I'm not asking yet. I'm sort of soft launching, begging for coin. But if that's something you're okay with, let us know. So, because, let us know so we can sort of gauge the desire for that. Obviously,
So right now, like the thing is, we can't actually stream anymore on the Twitter
X,
because
Elmo sucks.
Twitter, but
because Elmo sucks.
Yeah,
let's be honest. He sucks.
Little Elon said you got to have a blue check mark, and as much as we loathe to pay for it and give him money,
I had one when it meant something.
That might be something that we want to do because I've we've spoken to some listeners who normally would watch us on that platform and are kind of like, well, you guys are.
Where'd you go? Well, we went away because we're getting stooped by a billionaire who needs our money apparently.
So we'll look into that and see. There might we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. You can DM me. You can put on the TTID account. We just want to gauge if there's interest. So don't make us cry. Be nice.
Or try to make us cry. I mean, I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I cry all the time. So, definitely, I prefer not to cry because of this. This is joyful. But if I'm an asshole. If you want to be an asshole too, I guess make me cry. I can dish it out. So I better be able to take it.
Our community's been fairly nice, even if they don't agree with all of our takes, which is completely fine.
Which is completely okay because some of my takes are from space.
Show if you all just agreed with us all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to another Toronto Till I Die. Follow us on all the socials. You know where to find us. Toronto Till
except
I Die.
X, where apparently we're not allowed on anymore. But
yeah, exactly. Well, except there because apparently go fuck themselves. But just search Toronto Till I Die. on the Google box, and you'll find us at all of those.
It's still free for now.
Yep, absolutely.
Fingers
Absolutely
crossed.
Still free.
Yeah.
For listening on podcast, 5-star review rating would be amazing. Thank you so much for those who have.
We need new ones.
Yeah, Jeffrey wants some new ones. For Jeffrey P. Nesker and for Noel Allen, I'm Mike Newell. We'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
And wait, and baby, I'm TFC till I die.